clients here at Infinity for probably 2 or 3 years now, just on overall health issues. We decided to start this hormone program, or I decided to start this hormone program because I have just met from so many people and so many friends, and even personally, how hormones are so out of whack. You know, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s, everyone's complaining about the same things about weight, you have weight gain, or I'm so tired, I don't feel good, and then you go to your doctor, and suddenly they're like, well, take this medicine, they never ever address why you're eating, your lifestyle, your stress. I've had friends who come to me and ask me for help on it. My own teenage daughter, I experienced this week, took her to a gynecologist because she's 16 and menstrual problems all over the place, and the doctor basically told her that she should eat more cheeseburgers. I'm not kidding you, because she's a dancer, she has body fat, but she's not overweight, and told her she should eat more cheeseburgers. So I'm like, okay, you're done. We are not seeing this doctor again. This was yesterday. So I said to my husband, this is crazy. So for a doctor to give my daughter, a 16-year-old who's already, 16-year-olds do what they want anyway, to give her this advice, I was like, shocked. So I think there's a big problem out there. I do think there's a big problem with doctors. I personally am a doctor I love and works through all these things, but most doctors just band-aid solution. You're overweight, you're tired, all those things, and it's just really, really frustrating. So, as I said, it doesn't really matter what age you are, whether you're 16, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is, there's definitely hormonal issues at play. And I think we can take responsibility for those a little bit better than eating cheeseburgers. All right, so this seminar really is, we're going to talk today about what are hormones and the different hormones in your body, and again, how they interplay, because they're not standalone. They're not just if you fix one, everything else is fixed. They all interact together. So we call it the hormone conundrum because a conundrum is basically a confusing or difficult problem, and I think that's exactly how we can sum up our hormones or our bodies. And this specifically today, we're going to talk. It's mostly for women, but it's also if you have husbands at home who are going through any of these issues with stress and sleep problems and things, they can definitely apply to them as well. Men just don't like to talk about it. We'll take that one. Let me see if I can do this right. Hold on. Okay. So what is happening to me? So we all have expectations as to how we should function. Our goals and dreams do not include bloating, gas, weight gain, just constant fatigue, which I think is one of the biggest ones. People say, I'm just so tired all the time. The issue for most people is to recognize the symptoms are not normal. When you go to your doctor, they're going to tell you right away, it's your age. Does anyone want to shoot their doctors when they say that? It's your age. And some of it, yes, it is your age. Our hormones change, our bodies change, we're not metabolizing things as well. But to say that's a normal thing, I just don't think it's right. I think there's more questions that can be asked. You don't necessarily have to live with all these symptoms. So hormones, what are they? They're chemical messengers that help regulate the systems in the body and bodily functions. We can't function, we wouldn't be who we are without them. When we think of hormones right away, the first people say, they think of the reproductive hormones, or estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. But those are only small parts of the overall picture. And that's what we're going to kind of cover a little bit of today. So the major hormone systems, which we call the players, the ones that make everything happen in your body, these are adrenal hormones, your thyroid hormones, your reproductive hormones, digestive, intestinal, and liver. All of these interact together and have key relationships with each other to make each other function. So you can't just work on one without working on the others. So when your doctor prescribes that one pill, estrogen pill, progesterone, whatever, they're not really dealing with what the underlying issues are. The most important one, if you listen to any of my webinars the last few weeks, the most important player, the one that kind of orchestrates everything, are your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are kind of found here, atop your kidneys, and they protect. What they're ideally meant to do is protect us from physical harm. That's the flight or fight response. So if suddenly you are in a situation that's scary or something happens, that's the system that kicks in. And what it does, it releases cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone. We all need cortisol to deal with situations. It also releases adrenaline. With cortisol, without it, we would not be awake. It helps us function throughout the day. It's also a key stress response hormone. Problem is, we all have too much cortisol. Cortisol comes from stress. Here are some signs that you might have excess cortisol. And a lot of us can relate to a lot of these things. Brain fog, lack of focus, mood swings, depression, anxiety. Low thyroid function comes from cortisol, which comes from your adrenals. Dysglycemia, so any blood sugar swinging up and down, so those awful cravings that you have for sugar. Morning and mid-afternoon fatigue, overall fatigue, and sleep disruption. So many people come to me because they just can't sleep, they cannot get through a night. Well, that all comes from cortisol dysregulation. There are some other signs of high cortisol. If you have digestive intestinal issues, mostly constipation, backaches or headaches, weight gain, especially around the middle. That's our biggest complaint, especially with us women. Low libido, possible you have low testosterone or progesterone or excess estrogen. So when you have these, the low testosterone, progesterone, excess estrogen, you have actually estrogen dominance, which also leads to weight gain, especially around your middle, because estrogen is stored in body fat. You have a poor immune function, so if you're constantly getting sick, or here in Texas you have terrible allergies, it all comes from. These are all signs your cortisol's out of whack. Cravings for sweet or salty foods. I would say mostly people I have dealt with is it's a craving for salty food. If you're craving salty food and you don't know why you're craving salty food, you're not the type of person who adds salt or doesn't, you want salty food, it's probably your adrenal glands are tired. It's happened to me when I've been writing exams and I'm like, why am I craving salty food? It all comes back to this. So stress. Most of the people I meet with we go through an initial meeting and we go through everything, I'm feeling fine, I'm like, nothing's showing red flags, and suddenly I ask them, how is your stress? And they're like, whoa, the stress is crazy and busy. I'm like, well, that's where we start. Stress and high cortisol is the #1 reason your hormones are out of whack. It could be job related, relationship related, family, it could be anything. My webinar last week, I said probably one of the biggest things with stress is we're all trying to take on too much, and we live in a society that expects us to be busy all the time. And if we're not busy, we're lazy. We're doing something. We're doing something wrong. We're not enjoying life. The adrenals can. The problem is that when we have stress and it affects our adrenal glands, the adrenals can convert one hormone to another. They also have a major effect on pituitary, which is a master hormone gland as well. So, by reducing stress and repairing adrenal function, it may seem like the quickest answer, but it's not that easy. All these systems are affected by stress. Your hormones, your metabolism, your gastrointestinal system, detoxification, and immunity. These are all affected by too much stress. So how do we stop chronic stress? Well, one, identify the source of the problem, which sometimes we don't want to admit is the problem. We're going to resolve these issues, institute measures to repair or prevent them. And the other part of stress, which I work with clients, is I also do mind calm coaching, is that we work on stress. The situation isn't necessarily stressful, it's how we react to stress. And everybody reacts to stress in a different way. You know, my daughter comes home from school because she's got so many exams and she's stressed about this, this, and this, and I may be stressed about something else, and she's like, why are you stressed? You know, so we all totally react to stress in different ways. So that's part of our overall program, is that as in a 12-week program, we also work on some mind calm coaching as well to really identify what those stressors are. And you know, maybe it could be something that happened a long time ago in your life, something that you're holding on to, and that can cause you a lot of stress. Or not living in the moment now and living in the past, having anxiety about what happened in the past, or even more so having anxiety about what happens in the future. Because that can cause stress. We have these imaginary conversations in our mind about, you know, if I meet this person or this situation, how am I going to react? And you're already stressed about something that hasn't happened. I can be very guilty of that. So those are things that we work with in our 12-week program. So one of the other major hormones is your thyroid. And probably every woman here or anyone who's gone to the doctor, telling their doctor they're tired or they have weight gain, first thing they're going to say is, oh, it's probably your thyroid. The thyroid is a gland in your throat, produces two hormones, your T4 and T3. The thyroid regulates your metabolism. So that's why doctors hit that first, because it is a regulator of metabolism. Regulates your temperature in the body, your breathing, heart rate, nervous systems, your body weight, muscle strength. Your menstrual cycles are regulated by your thyroid. Body temperature, your cholesterol levels. The problem is, with T3 and T4 hormones, is that when you go to the doctor and test them, they don't necessarily always test the free T3 in your blood as well. They'll test just straight hormone function. And what they can't test is how well those hormones actually convert. So T4 levels may be fine, but T4 has to be converted to T3 either in your liver or your digestive system in order to be functioning. So those are things that they just can't test. So if you're still tired, you go to your doctor, says all your hormone levels are fine, but you're still tired, still gaining weight, still cold, it can be how it's converted. So those are things you can work on. So if your liver and your digestive system aren't functioning properly, you're just not converting the right thyroid hormones. So these are signs of low thyroid function. And most women I talk to have several of these. So fatigues and headaches, increased sensitivity to cold, constipation, dry skin and hair thinning. Usually the hair thinning is in your eyebrows. If you ever notice your eyebrows are really thinning, that's a sign of low thyroid. Weight gain, puffy face, maybe hoarseness, muscle weakness, elevated blood cholesterol levels are not necessarily what you're eating, as in doctors may tell you to stop eating eggs. Not what causes high cholesterol, it's how your hormones are interacting. Muscle and joint aches, stiffness, heavier or irregular periods, your slow heart rate, or depression, and poor cognitive function. Those are all signs of low thyroids. So then we come to reproductive hormones, and these are the ones that, when we think of hormones, this is all we think of. You know, if you have a significant other of any kind, they make fun of you because your hormones are always, you're always out of whack. Anytime you complain of something, they say, oh, it's your hormones. So estrogen, which is actually found in male and females. So for females, it's fertility, and also for men, men do have estrogen as well, and it's involved with both, bone making, brain function, gut health. So even if you're postmenopause, if you've gone through menopause and estrogen's not a problem, your body still needs estrogen. You may not be producing estrogen from your ovaries, but you still have estrogen. Your body still needs it. Progesterone is another key female hormone for fertility, but if you're past the fertility stage, it also has other key features of bone making, brain health, blood clotting, sleeping, thyroid function, and gut health. So you still need progesterone as well. Testosterone, a key male productive hormone, but also helps men and women maintain muscle mass, maintains libido, your bone density, and gut health. So all super important for both men and women. So all three of these have more roles in the body and can affect each other's hormone system. So, for example, progesterone is a precursor to testosterone and cortisol. So you need progesterone. And if you're low in progesterone, your body isn't producing enough of it, you're probably going to be low in testosterone, and your cortisol will be out of whack as well. Stress can cause testosterone to convert to estrogen, and the adrenals can convert to progesterone to cortisol. So you see how they all interact? So it's not that easy, it's actually extremely complicated on that. So that's kind of what the program covers, of how we work on all these hormone systems. Your liver is also a key organ for hormones and detoxification in your body. It actually removes, so if you're producing or excess hormones, which are normally detoxified through your liver or through your gut, if it's not working properly, it's congested for whatever reason. You're like, people say, oh, I don't drink alcohol, but that's not necessarily it. It could be medications you've been on for a long time, ibuprofen. A lot of people constantly take ibuprofen if they have back issues, pain. All those things lead to your liver being really congested, and if it's congested, you can't detox the excess hormones through it. So you're really congested. So you could have estrogen dominance just from your liver being congested. The liver also makes your cholesterol, which the body needs to make all the other reproductive hormones. People always think your cholesterol levels are a bad thing. Your body needs cholesterol. It's a hormone that you need. So as soon as you go to the doctor too, like as soon as cholesterol levels are over 200, well, you need to go on a statin. Never once do they go on a statin, don't eat eggs. That's pretty much what they tell you to do on that. So many clients have been on statins for years, like, I just want to get off them, they're just not that good for you. So changing her, I've seen it with my own mom, when she changed her diet to tons of vegetables, natural foods, nothing processed, she's no longer on statins anymore. Just from changing what she doesn't want.
Medicine?
What's that?
Is that medicine?
Statin? Yeah, it's a Lipitor. You hear the key name of Lipitor, yeah. So where her doctor initially just told her to take this, didn't talk about diet, and now she's done it herself and managed over the years to get off the medications. So it's super important, I think, to look at all these key systems to where, to really look at how they produce, substance in your body, chemicals in your body, and what you really need. The other part of the liver too, and the cholesterol, is that liver, it's interesting, if you eat too many bad processed carbohydrates, it actually triggers your liver to produce more cholesterol than before. So, different doctors have different views on that, but I think just you have to really look at your diet first. So some other things the liver does, it regulates the supply of glucose and glycogen. It makes bile and controls secretions into the intestine. So a lot of people come to me because they have gallbladder issues or they've had to have their gallbladder removed. So your bile is actually produced in your liver and gets housed in your gallbladder. So if your liver is not functioning properly, you're not producing the right amount of bile. And that's mostly evident in your bowel movements. You'll know if they're not right, if there's too much fat in it or runny, it could be you're producing too much bile or not enough. Or if you don't have a gallbladder, you don't have the quality of bile that your body needs. The liver will also help regulate the metabolism, and it regulates the balance of sex hormones. The one thing I don't have up here, which is really interesting, so if anyone ever likes Eastern medicine thought, which I find fascinating, is your liver is also the center of anger and suppressed feelings. So sometimes, if you look deep down, you have that anger from something that's happened in the past, or they suppressed feelings, it will definitely affect your liver as well, make that not function as properly. So the other important digestive is digesting your intestinal systems. This is super, super important. Most people who come to me don't have regular bowel movements, or they're feeling sick all the time. If this isn't functioning properly too, you're not going to get the right nutrients. This is where your nutrients are absorbed. But also, your blood sugar is regulated by the hormone insulin, which has a codependent relationship with cortisol. So if one goes up, the other goes down. So it regulates blood sugar. Good gut bacteria in the intestines plays a regulatory for reproductive hormones, thyroid, and cortisol. Important part of this is that in your gut, it directly affects a lot of hormones. Your gut actually makes hormones, and it also makes your neurotransmitters. 75 to 80% of your happy transmitter, serotonin, is actually produced in your gut. So if this isn't functioning properly, people come to me with depression and anxiety, and they've had a history of gut problems. It's probably why, because they're just not producing those happy transmitters. There's also a nerve that goes straight from your gut to your brain called the vagus nerve, and it's bidirectional, so it affects each other as well. So again, you can see how these all interplay. So if that's not healthy, you're not producing the right hormones, you can have all kinds of other issues like depression and anxiety. Stress and cortisol also affect the quality of the good gut bacteria and encourage the growth of bad bacteria. So again, stress and cortisol, one of the major problems. And the good gut bacteria also helps the liver with the removal of excess hormones from the body. So we get to the interrelationship of hormones. So I talked a lot about it, how one affects the other. So adrenals and excess cortisol interfere with reproductive hormones, depresses thyroid function, cause issues with hormones like insulin in the digestive system. Thyroid hormones interfere with digestive function, intestinal function, and reproductive functions. So as you can see, we're talking about why. If you go to your doctor, they give you thyroid hormones, but we're still not dealing with what the underlying problems are. You can't just fix one without the other. Reproductive hormones, when out of balance, interfere with thyroid and adrenal function. And that's why it's essential to work balancing all of them. The easiest way to do this is through food. You don't want to take medication, because medication, I'm not dissing medication, sometimes it's a necessity and you need to take it, and sometimes it gets you through that hump that you need to help support hormones, but I don't think it should be, it really is a band-aid solution, and it's not helping you answer the questions of why. why it's there. And as a holistic nutritionist, I deal with, that's exactly kind of the approach I take, is that we go back and look at, I do a very detailed lifestyle assessment form, and we go back to more on a functional basis of where it could have started. Could have started in childhood, and you could have had some big illness, you had lots of antibiotics, you could have had gallbladder removed, it could be any number of things that have gone on. So that's what I do, is go back to figure out how it could have started, and then we start addressing those issues. So some of the key foods that are introduced in the program for your thyroid, so sea vegetables, coconut oil, foods rich in B vitamins, and essential fatty acids. Omega-3 is super important for hormones, supporting hormones, because your body cannot produce omega-3s. So you need to get those through food. So unless you're eating cold water fish every day, which I just did on my vacation, which was amazing, but unless you're eating it every day, you're not going to get the right amount of omega-3. So sometimes you do need to supplement. The adrenal glands, we need maca, which is a root from South America. Schizandra is a berry. Foods rich in B vitamins, potassium, and vitamin C. Liver foods, the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, calcium deglycerate foods, apples and grapefruit, and garlic, onions, essential fatty acids. We need complex carbohydrates, not bad carbohydrates, complex carbs. Milk thistle is a great liver detoxifier, lemons and limes. So these are all foods that we start introducing. Fermented foods, which support your intestinal function, which are providing good bacteria to your gut to heal it. So things like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, even some wine. A little bit of wine is not a bad thing. It is fermented. And then we need prebiotic foods as well. Prebiotic foods feed our own good bacteria. So broccoli, asparagus, apples, berries, some dairy products, as long as they're whole dairy products and not 0% fat, overly processed ones. Some whole wheat, other whole grains, legumes, almonds. These are all whole foods that support your body. The problem is most of us, or we've been brought up, we live in a society that eats so much processed food. We're so busy, we're stressed, we go to packaged foods. So as soon as things are packaged and processed, they lose most of the nutritional value, and your body just doesn't know how to break it down. My sister was a perfect example of this. She spent years trying to get pregnant. She's in her 40s now, spent years trying to get pregnant. And she told me, doctors tried all these tests, nothing wrong with her. She went on 30 days, all she ate was whole foods, not a single processed item, and she got pregnant after 2 years. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, that works. It supports your hormones. So there's definitely a lot to be said about eating whole foods. And I know packaged food can be convenient sometimes, the odd protein bar if you're on the run, or take kids to soccer, or whatever the case may be. But I think the majority of our food has to come from whole foods, because that's where the only place you're going to find the nutrients that your body needs. And that's really what your hormones need. They need nutrients. You need to sort of stop giving them the toxic things in your body, and you really need to give them the nutrients that it needs. So the solution, key to balancing hormones, is making changes. And change can be hard, because we're all used to eating a certain way, we have a certain kind of lifestyle, but I think taking the time to invest in yourself, rather than investing in, I know we're always trying to put our kids first, our spouses first, our job first, but I think you need to take the time to invest in you. So diet and lifestyle is probably the easiest way, and I say it's the easiest way because you can make those changes yourself. It doesn't have to cost a lot. You don't have to go through extensive programs, with your doctor or be on medications. Supplements we talked about can be helpful. I don't think it's a long-term answer. There's certain ones that are key, and during the program, during a 12-week program, and depending on what your situation is, I may tell you to take certain supplements for a while just to give your body a break. But I don't think it can be a really long-term solution. If you're eating healthy and you're eating whole foods, most of your nutrients are going to come from food. Definitely better than taking medications. And it takes time, but it's definitely worth it. Like, it takes years, months, whatever, for your body to become out of balance. So it does take time for it to become back in balance. But during a 12-week program, that's something I work with you on, is to introduce those key foods, we talk about what your weaknesses are, areas that you want to work on, and hopefully that, that sets you off on a good path of eating the correct foods for your body type. So the Healthy Hormones program, what it does, educates you about hormones and what they do, so how the different hormones and systems interact with each other, understanding the different phases in your cycles. So different phases, if you're still having menstrual cycle, it really works on each week of that cycle and what key foods you need to support that cycle, to support that week. If you're you've already gone through menopause, that still comes. You still go through the different weeks, but it's the foods are going to support the other hormones, not so much the reproductive side of things. So you want to learn how certain foods can be toxic to your body. I'm going to tell you, coffee is going to be one of these. Caffeine is going to be one of the probably the most detrimental when you have hormone issues. And it's hard to give that up. I have one of my best friends, she's kind of a guinea pig for me. She does all my programs, and she's great. I love her. Thank you, Jody. The last time we did a program, and she had never been willing to give up coffee before. She's like, I'll do everything else. I am not giving up coffee. I've been drinking it since I'm 15. No way. The last time she did it, I said, you gotta try that without a caffeine. She did, and she's never gone back, because she said before she never had the mental clarity that she has after giving. She's like, I just can't go back because she feels so much better. That was the one thing. So that may not be your one thing, but it could be something else that we uncover that's making you feel bad or making your hormones out of whack. But I'm telling you, caffeine is definitely one of those things. The other thing the program does is reboot your body functions by supplying it with the right foods to nourish your mind. It's going to balance your hormones so that you're no longer suffering from the brain fog, anxiety, tiredness, insomnia, aches, pains, acne is a big one, your regular menstrual cycles, and increase your libido. And I say acne is a big one because I suffered from acne my whole life, and until I actually changed the way I ate, I gave up gluten a couple years ago, and I added more avocados and good fats into my diet, and my skin's like the best it's ever been. So I can't say enough for how much what you eat changes your health. So this is a sample menu. There is a 12-week program, which I encourage people really to do. The 12-week program is food-based. There's menus. There are menus for each week with all the recipes and shopping lists, and it really encourages food. Each week, I said, it encourages food, foods that support all the different hormone systems. The other thing is, so that's a 12-week program, and in that 12-week program, we go through a very detailed lifestyle assessment to uncover anything else to uncover what's really going on with your body. If you have blood work, I'll review the blood work to see if there's something else going on. And it's really a good support for 12 weeks to get you on the right path to balancing your hormones. I also think though, doing a 7-day detox is super important, because I think living the life we're all living now with, I said, with processed food and the caffeine and sugar and everything else, detoxing a little bit of that, sort of putting the brakes on what's going on in your body now, is definitely a good thing as well. During a detox, you can have days of feeling bad and headaches, which I've got that feedback, and I've done it. If you're a caffeine person, day 2, you're probably going to have a pretty bad headache. Usually by day 3, it's gone. So there are different things, but I think it's super important. So this was just an example. On a 7-day program, on a 7-day kind of quick start program, this is kind of what it looks like. And you have to I would say you stick to it 100%. It's 7 days, and every meal here supports different hormone systems. And I said there's recipes and shopping lists to go with it. In a 12-week program, there is a meal plan, but you don't have to be as diligent sticking to every single recipe that I've given you, because I know life is crazy, life is busy. As long as each week, what I do is tell you, these are the key foods, these are foods that during this week I need you to eat every day. Could be an apple every day, it could be some broccoli. As long as you're incorporating those key foods, take some of the recipes, yes, use them, but you don't have to follow it 100%. During a 7-day program though, I would say, unless there's something you really, really hate, you try, like some people tell me, I can't eat salmon. There's salmon right here. I really hate salmon. But we can talk about another fish that maybe you like. It's going to be as healthy, but it's still going to give you, you're still sticking to the program on that. So I've met with a lot of people already on the program, probably about 12 people already who are interested in working on their hormones, and I have another 6 or 7 meetings set up this week. So for me, it's just telling me that there's just so much need out there, and there's so many women who are just tired of feeling this way. So if you're interested, either email me at Cathy Falk Holistic Nutrition at Gmail, or talk to Ray and Amy, and they'll forward me your information. Today too, if you want to sign up for, basically, if you sign up for a 12-week program, I've got the handouts here, then the 7-day reboot is included in that as well. So, does anyone have any questions? Is that it? Great, okay, well thank you guys for coming, and as I said, email me with any questions that you might have. Oh, I also have a sign-up sheet. I do a weekly email just on different nutrition things. If you want to sign up for that, I'm happy to put you on that list as well.
I have just a quick question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff I can put on there, I can pretty much kind of like go down and say yes, check out all of that. But I have had my cortisol levels checked and all, and that's not the culprit for me. What's your take on the bioidentical hormones?
I think there's a place definitely for bioidentical. I was saying about, you said your cortisol levels were checked.
Yeah.
Did they check at certain times of the day?
Yes, I had to do like a saliva test at certain times, and then drop that
So
off.
there could be other things then going into play with that. Bioidentical hormones, are natural, but what I would say, and I think if you're at the point where you just nothing else has worked, you've tried all the different foods and quit, and cut out bad foods, processed foods, you've done all that first, and it's still doesn't, then I think it's a solution. But again, I would say unless you're confident that you've tried a lot of other things first and introduce some of the key foods that support, the adrenals and the thyroid and all those, I think I would probably do that first.
But those would be a better option than the synthetic?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, a synthetic hormone, they're just, I don't know, for me, anything synthetic, I get scared. I get scared of. But I know a lot of people I've met with are on the T4 Synthroid, which is a synthetic hormone, and it does work. It does, well, I should say, it does work to the extent that it shows that your thyroid levels are normal, but again, it's not dealing with what's causing it to be that way in the first place. And I know people with Hashimoto's apparently react really well with this T4 synthetic hormone. Again, but T4 has to be converted to T3 in your body first. So if those aren't functioning, you're still not getting your hormones that way. So I think for you, if you're looking, well, I have my cortisol checked at different times of the day, and it seemed like they're normal levels. The other part about normal levels, which drives me crazy, because I went recently, maybe 6 months ago, and had hormone panel tested based on my age. I'm 46. and they said, oh no, my doctor said everything's fine. Yeah, but I'm tired. Like I'm doing all these things, it's normal for your age. And then, but then I took it to my own doctor, because I hadn't had a chance to see him, and he said, well, yeah, but the range is so big now in North America, because it's just, we're big. There's such a range, and people are so unhealthy that the new normal is like this huge range. You could be at either end of that range. And the other thing, when you have your hormones tested, like your estrogen, your progesterone, all those other things, if they, the doctors look at normal, but when you look at them in relation to each other, they may not be normal. So you could have your estrogen's fine, progesterone looks fine, but in relation to each other, they're out of balance. One could be super high, estrogen could be at the high end of the range, progesterone could be at the low end, so that's what's causing the problem.
Yeah, I was asking that because I've gone through all of that with the doctors, and I finally had to switch to another one. And I get my pellets on Monday. But she said the exact same thing, like compared to what my other doctors, this one really showed all the really low levels.
We really actually looked at them, took the time to look at the numbers, right, to assess whether that, are they in balance with each other. So I think definitely through food you can do that, even if it's you think it comes back, you're just low in progesterone. Well, there's foods that support progesterone production, and you need estrogen, but but you don't want the bad estrogen. So then you look at foods like broccoli that detoxifies the bad estrogens. So you're lowering your risk of breast cancer that way. Especially if you have a family member who's had hormone-based breast cancer, like my mom was the same. So, for me, eating those foods are super important to keep my bad estrogens down. Anyone else? If you have any questions, you can always email us if you want to, just on more of a personal level as well. Okay. I think we're done. Thank you.